and welcome to the Film Whisperers, where two film nerds talk all things movies with a contemporary lens. My name is Saj.
And my name is Matthew.
How are you, Matthew?
Yeah, I'm okay, Saj. How are you going? I feel like you were missing in action last month. Our audience missed you. Where were you?
I had a few other things on, but I hope you had an excellent time, drink excellent shooters, and just hung around with your other co-host Julie and soak up each other's awesomeness.
Look, I'm not going to deny that we did all of those things, but I'm also going to admit that we missed you. I think that, the Film Whisperers just isn't the same without Saj. And I think I can speak for all our viewers at home when I say it's good to have you back.
Well, thank you, Matthew. Well, okay, let's not keep our viewers waiting. So what are we going to talk about today in terms of film or TV?
Well, I think that you, much like myself, Saj, you're a big book fan. Like I think you read quite a lot, as do I. And so I thought it might be good. I don't think we've done this before on the show, but to look at book to movie or TV adaptations. So the good, the bad, the weird. Obviously, every year there are so many new ones that pop up. So there's lots to talk about. But let's start with the good. Saj, is there, and it can be film or TV, an adaptation that you just really love, that you just really enjoy, that you thought was great? That's been one of your favorite.
I'm just going to quickly start by saying, look, I'm going to obviously, if people didn't know this, Legally Blonde's actually based off a book, but everyone knows that's my favorite film, and I'm not even going to go there because I've spoken about it too many times. So, yes, so there is one. Aside from Legally Blonde, it's actually a TV show adaptation, and it's Big Little Lies. So the book is written by an Australian author. Her name's Liane Moriarty. The book is set in Sydney. With the TV show adaptation, they did change the setting to a place in America. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, it didn't matter though, because they really brought these characters to life in a way that was really well cast. There were some really additional storylines that were given to the TV show that had Liane Moriarty's blessing. Overall, the way the story, from start to finish, it was spot on to the way the book was written. And I cannot fault it in any way. The fact that it won so many awards, the Golden Globes and the Emmys, definitely showed why it was an excellent TV show. And out of the people who read the book, they had very little bad things to say about this TV show adaptation, because it was just that good.
Yeah, actually, I didn't realize that the author of the book was Australian. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. But one thing which you mentioned, which I think is so important, is that you mentioned that the author kind of gave her blessing for there to be kind of these new storylines as part of the show. And I feel like that's always the telltale sign of like a adaptation done right, because obviously with films and television, they're always going to kind of take some liberties or do kind of new things to it. But if it kind of has the original author's blessing, you know that it's kind of heading in the right direction. Like I feel like when a director kind of takes something in a completely different direction, hasn't consulted with the original author, it just makes the story weird and messy. But I think that, like you're saying, if in this instance, the author actually said, she was happy with these kind of additions to the storyline or the plot, then it actually kind of made it work. And I mean, I haven't read the book, but the TV show is great, so I'm definitely with you on that one. And actually, that author has another new adaptation coming out, right?
Yeah, so it's called Nine Perfect Strangers. Again, I've read the book too. The book is not as good as Big Little Lies, where it's the mystery is not as much of a page turner as Big Little Lies. However, I will still be watching the TV show given its amazing cast. Once again, they have changed the setting because the book is set in Australia. The author, I believe, sets a lot of her books in Australia because she's Australian, and there is that but there's that want to Americanize it. However, again, I'm not gonna fault the creators of that show. I trust them to do a good job and bring the best out of the people in the show, because they're really good actors in it. So I believe we've got Melissa McCarthy and we've got Nicole Kidman once again. So and a few other actors that were quite recognisable. But I just want to quickly just say, in Big Little Lies, just a shout out to the character of Celeste that was played by Nicole Kidman. Very heavy character. She was a character that was going through domestic violence. Some of the scenes in there were just so profound. There are some really great lines that she delivers as a wife going through a lot of trauma, and also, the amazing Reese Witherspoon playing Madeline. To be honest, when I was reading the book, I don't think Reese had even been cast in that role, but it was just Reese to a T, and I don't think they could have cast a more perfect Madeline. Anyway, enough about that, Matt. It's your turn now. What would you say is your best book to film or TV show adaptation?
Mine's actually a nostalgic one. So when I first kind of came out as being gay, one of my friends at the time bought me a book called Holding the Man, which is probably not unfamiliar to a lot of queer men in Australia, which tells the story basically of this love story, and that involves a lot of tragedy. And when I read the book as someone who's kind of newly out, I just connected with it completely. And I cried. It was beautiful. I just loved the book so much. And so when they announced they were going to do a film adaptation, I was very, very excited, but also apprehensive, as I think anyone is when they've read something and they're waiting to see it on the big screen. But when I went and saw it when it first came out, I loved it. I thought it was a really great adaptation. It was very faithful to the book. And I cried when I watched the movie as well. So I felt like both versions got out the same emotions from me. So I feel like that was a testament to how well it had been done. And I think there are this is unfair, there aren't very few, but it's just nice when you kind of see, particularly a locally made film, queer film, done really, really well. Because I guess it kind of, in my instance at least, I could relate, to those feelings in high school of being unsure about yourself and kind of meeting someone you're interested in and all that kind of stuff. So it was it was a really, really great adaptation. So I love that one. That would definitely be my pick.
Is it based on a true story?
Yeah, that's right. So the author of the book, it's written like a fiction book, but it's actually the author's own story. I think from the 70s or something like that, when he grew up and met this other guy at his school, and they had this kind of really long love story. It was based on a true story, which kind of I think makes it more kind of emotional and more real, and very, very just very resonant.
And it's filmed in Melbourne, our hometown.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like particularly patriotic, or I don't feel any kind of major loyalty to local films or anything, but I just felt like it was kind of nice to just see a really well-made queer Australian film. So if anyone asks me for recommendations on queer Australian films, I always kind of hold that up as the good example. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, Saj, about our favorite book to film or TV adaptations. And hopefully we'll be able to continue this momentarily. And thanks for tuning in at home. This is The Film Whisperers. You're watching this on Bent TV, and we'll see you next time.